Welcome to another episode of No Investment Advice. We've got Jack Butcher here. What's happening, dude?
Good afternoon, gentlemen. How are we?
You got the fresh trim. You want to let people see underneath that hat? Look at that.
Nice,
Look at that. Rude boy haircut. Like,
tight
we got,
as it comes, my friend.
we got Trung Phan, Shaky Hands Fan, fresh off the CNBC.
No CNBC. No CNBC this week. So still at 2. CNBC appearance count is still at 2. We should have a counter meter. How many times
Chevron in comment.
Okay, hold on a second. And we're here with Bilal, the hostess with the mostest. But I actually wanted to ask Jack about Jack just sends brand new swag into our three-way chat every week. He's always got new ones coming through. Your newest one is insane, man. He has a T-shirt that just says NFT. And it's like a pun, so the T is TEE. How many of those are you going to sell? Are you going to sell $1 million of those?
No, not $1 million of them. No, and by the way, the embroidery on the T is the ERC721, which is the Ethereum token that represents a non-fungible token. So it's got to be an in-joke, you know. The title of the piece is NFT, but then you have to sort of get it to where.
Well, do you remember Alex Cohen last week, our first guest? He's saying, if you're going to sell one thing, I don't care what it is, there's $1 million addressable market. This one sounds like it has $1 million addressable market, to be honest.
If you're a good enough marketer, I believe that could be true. You need Bilal on the ones and twos on the Facebook ads, mate, with the retargeting and the,
Well, here, this is the thing.
Sales page.
Well,
wait until the NIA merch, man. We got some stuff cooking. I think if people are following Jack on Twitter, we got some cool ones coming down the line as well. So,
I think this is something that's not talked enough about because Bilal has always been the interviewer. So now he's about to get interviewed. Dude, can you tell us about the dark arts? What is your day-to-day job? Is it to make stuff like NIA merch pop?
No, it's just digital ads. It's so boring. But yeah, that's what pays the bills, man. Yeah, I have a little agency and I help basically startups. Nowadays, mostly startups, like venture-backed startups who want to grow. This sounds like a pitch. I didn't ask you to ask me this.
How come our podcast isn't growing faster, man? What the fuck's going on, bro?
Don't get me started, Trung. Don't get me started.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, that's basically all I do, man. It's just looking at numbers on a screen, the opposite of this. So,
all right. So the last thing I'll add, because I've already derailed this entire conversation, is you guys saw the GameStop. You sent me that tweet. They're doing NFT, right? Did you guys know that they encoded a joke into the address?
No.
So if you go to the NFT webpage for GameStop, I think whatever it is, GameStop.NFT or whatever, or if you look at the Ethereum address, it's 1337420.
Nice.
Not bad, right? You know their audience, man.
All right, boys, where should we start? Because we've got a bunch to cover this week. We've got Apple repair stuff. We've got media deals with Amazon, MGM to cover. Trung, Stanley Druckenmiller's conversation, the Biden budget, latest in crypto NFT world. So yeah, where do you want to start? Should we start with this Apple stuff? Because it's really pointed because Trung is struggling with his laptop right now. So why don't you kick it off, Trung?
All right, man. So we're going to start here because this is just like a personal story. And I know people come here for investment advice and personal stories. So I freaking got a brand new MacBook Pro like a year ago. And my wife goes, hey, you should get Apple Care for that. And then I know everybody here always has the Apple Care combo, right? You go through the calculation in your head. It's like, oh, should I get Apple Care? For your iPhone, it probably makes sense, right? You have a $1,500 phone you're carrying around. For a laptop, I go to my wife. I'm like, what do I need Apple Care for a laptop for? This thing's never leaving the room. It turns out you can still crack the screen. So,
Jesus, how the hell did you throw it out the window?
I'm going to show you guys how I cracked it. Like, you know how it charges? Like this thing?
Yeah.
So I pulled it out and I closed my laptop, but the way that I pulled it and closed it, it had moved into the path of the laptop. I closed it so hard, it cracked the screen. I'm like, oh my God. So my screen's not working. I go down to Apple Store. I did it yesterday. It's insane. I'm going to run you through the numbers because I'm sure I'm not the only person that's experienced this. I go to them. I'm like, hey, cracked the screen of my laptop. They're like, how'd you do it? Did you put the cord? I'm like, yeah. It's like, how do you know? It's like, it happens to everyone. So apparently this fucking thing happens to everyone where they're not careful pulling out the charger. So I go, I'm like, hey, what are my options? He's like, you have two options. The first option is, let me see what the trade-in value is for your brand new laptop I paid $2,300 for last year. He goes, puts in a serial number into his machine. He goes, your trade-in value is $0. I'm like, are you fucking
That's
kidding
insane.
me?
That's
Dude,
ridiculous.
I'm like, how is this $0? I just bought this. And then he goes, types again. He's like, if you didn't break the screen, the trade-in value would be $700. And so this is where the kicker comes in. Do you know how much it costs to repair a screen? $700. So they assign zero value to the fucking laptop. And it was insane. So my choices now are with this $2,300 laptop to pay $700 and have my laptop. I'm not doing that. I'm just out of principle. I refuse to do that. Or pay $700 and then sell it on Craigslist, right? But this all leads into the bigger thing, which is like a bunch of state regulators are rolling out legislation to make it so Apple makes shit easier to fucking repair, man. It's absurd. Have you guys ever broken an Apple product?
Yeah, I mean, my AirPods, I literally bought the original AirPods and then like 1 month after the first year. So like 13 months in, one of them kind of messes up, or I think the charge, like the battery life wouldn't last for like one call. So I go in and they're like, oh, you just missed the time. And yeah, I'm like, oh, what do you know? Like, what coincidence? And then I'm pretty sure the same's about to happen with my AirPods Pro. Yeah. And it really hurts me. But like, the truth is, I'm probably just buying another one. As much 100%. As it really pisses me off, but I'm like, they are really good. And I just see it as a sunk cost. I'm like, all right, I just kind of accept it with Apple, but it's not very rational. But like, Jack, you got a bunch of tech shit going on, so you must have this all the time.
I've never broken a laptop, but lost AirPods, and that, like, whoever is working on those numbers is very smart. It's like, it's just enough to make you think, yeah, I can't buy a new pair, because I had one AirPod lost. And what were they, $200 when they came out, and at the case and the other AirPod, and it's like, yeah, to replace the AirPod is like $140. And you're like, what?
It's so stupid. Yeah.
But it also doesn't make sense to keep the one AirPod in the charging case and buy a new set. So, mate, it's a little criminal, like small scale criminal economics going on there, isn't it?
Well, you're going to laugh because you said they have like the numbers guy. I mean, it's not just a single guy. They probably have thousands of people.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Well, I'll tell you the reason why it's funny is because if you read the book, I saw this excerpt. I didn't even read it. I'm not going to pretend like I read the book. I saw an excerpt from the book about the creation of the iPhone, and they have one employee, a full-time probably guy makes $500,000 a year. He negotiates glue prices. So this guy goes around the world.
That's so funny.
Just negotiating the price of glue, right? And it's worth it, right? Like, he's going to save this company.
Yeah, with billions of dollars, hundreds of $1 billion worth of revenue.
Oh, mate.
Insane.
I looked this up a while ago. I can't remember why. Oh, when the last iPhone cycle came out, it's like, just curious, how many iPhones have ever been produced? You guys know? You have an estimate?
I think there's been over 1 billion sold. Is that right? No, more than 1 billion.
It's like 1.3 billion. If I
1.3 billion.
Can you imagine what that looks like? Can you imagine like piling those in a warehouse or something?
How much glue is that? Well, dude, they've sold over $1 trillion. It's like, I was gonna do a list of the best. Sorry, Bilal, I mean, I'll do a super quick list, but like, I want to do a list. I'm noodling in my head of like literally the single best selling consumer products ever. So Apple's obviously maybe number one. Actually, Toyota Camrys and Corollas are probably up there. Viagra and the pill units is probably up there.
Pill units.
Lipitor, the cholesterol drug, is definitely up there. Maybe tires. But like, if you think about it, what are the single products that have been sold the most?
Coke.
In the history of mankind. Coca-Cola, yeah. Like the units.
Coca-Cola, yeah.
Mind-blowing. Yeah, they do 1.7 billion servings a day. So that's what
Trung, I think you posted this or someone else did. There was like a graph of the AirPods revenue compared to like Spotify, Twitter. Or like someone posted this. I can't remember the numbers, but the numbers are crazy. Like, people don't realize the revenue from AirPods is greater than 3-4 public companies combined that people think of.
It's disputed, but the number's probably between 10 and 20 billion. It's bigger than all the companies you mentioned. But here's another crazy stat that I wanted to bring up. Apple Care, because this goes back to the repairing stuff, like whether or not to get Apple Care, honestly, at the end of the day, probably doesn't actually make sense, because they're only going to price a product that fucking makes sense for them, right? It's like going to a casino. You know they have at least a 51-49 advantage. So, mean? But Apple Care by itself does $7 to $10 billion a year. And just to tell you how insane that is, if you compare that to single line insurers like a Liberty Mutual, Travelers, and for products, it would be the 11th largest insurer in the world. This is the thing about Apple and even Amazon, right? When you look at Amazon's advertising revenue, that's a big thing. Like its ad revenue is bigger than Pinterest, Twitter, Roku combined, like times 2. These like the big tech companies, they have these fucking random business lines that are just milking it. So
yeah, people don't even know that from the outside. So Trung, and also we should explain to people you don't have a mic today because of this Mac situation.
I'm back to the 20. Well, I'll ask you guys about this. People say that the 2015 MacBook Air is still like the greatest laptop ever. So like that's when when there's like a shoe release or a car that everybody looks back to. It's like, Jack, what's the best Porsche ever?
The Jordans of Macs.
Jordan 11. We'll ask Jack, what's the best car year for Porsche?
Heavily debated. I think like for me it's like 89, 90.
Right.
But,
so there's a year, there's a vintage, right? The 2015 MacBook Air it's just fucking perfect. So I'm back to it now, and that's why the sound sucks and the video sucks.
No, it's all good. So let's quickly move on because we got a bunch to go through today. Let's kick off with the media stuff because we're going to get to crypto, Druckenmiller, Biden, but there's some interesting stuff going on. Amazon is buying MGM, right? I think it's like 8-9 billion or something like that. So first of all, what the hell is MGM for people who don't know? And why are they doing this? Do you guys think?
Well, I'll just list off the facts, but I want to ask you guys because the crown jewel of MGM Studios is obviously James Bond, the James Bond franchise. And I know you guys are British cats, so I got some questions for you. So I'll give you top line, 8.45 billion. They get 17,000 TV shows, like some killer ones. Fargo, Shark Tank, Survivor. 4,000 movies, including Rocky and the James Bond franchise. I'll give you the rationale is pretty simple. Jeff Bezos said that, famously said, every time we win a Grammy, we sell more shoes. It's just more lock-in for Prime. They have 200 million Prime subscribers in the world right now. And if you just, you don't want those guys to churn. And nobody churned from Prime right now anyways. I think first year resubscriptions for Prime are like 98%. And then second year, like 99%. It's obscene. It's the most absurd subscription business in the world, right?
Yeah.
And they have 200 million subscribers. So anything to keep those people locked in is worth it. I don't know if it's $8.5 billion worth it, but they clearly, if we want to talk about Apple has pricing guys, we know Amazon got pricing guys, and they clearly think it's worth it. But the last thing I'll add is they actually have, I had no idea about this, I read about it yesterday. IMDb TV, have you guys ever heard of this?
IMDb, you mean just the website?
There's a ad-supported free streaming service called IMDb TV. So a lot of people saying this is actually a big boost to the ad business, which we just talked about. Does $22 billion a year. A lot of people don't know it exists, but like now you have content for this ad-supported streaming service, which I literally had no effing idea existed. But apparently there's 100 million subscribers on it. So that's all top line. Let me hit you guys. Who is the greatest Bond actor ever? As British cat.
Come on. That is hard.
I may be a controversial answer, but I'm going to say Daniel Craig.
I was going to say the more contemporary one. Yeah, that's hard to say, but he was a boss. The old school ones as well were great, but Daniel Craig is... Right? I think
that is controversial.
Until Idris Elba takes over, and then Idris will be the best.
I back Idris for sure, yeah.
Well,
I think Sean Connery is what you're supposed to say, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, here's this. Like, let's get into these guys. They've done Roger Moore, Sean Connery, Pierce Brosnan. They're all legends, right? Can you tell me the perception of these guys in the UK? Like, who is the god? Who's a UK actor god? Like, who's just the fucking GOAT?
In the Bond franchise, or
within the Bond franchise?
I wouldn't say Pierce Brosnan is like that. Like his career after Bond wasn't that crazy, right? I think Sean Connery is probably like the most storied actor of all of them, and had like massive. I don't know much about Roger Moore, but I know Sean Connery is just like, mental achievements outside of the Bond franchise.
Do you guys have any special association to either of them, just being British, or is that just a total number?
Here's Brosnan for me, because GoldenEye, the N64 game.
Oh my god!
Oh, that's the classic. All right, that's the one. That's the right answer.
Yeah. So that was like a huge.
Remember, man, people were buying the console just for that game, right? Like that's one of those games where you have the. I mean, those are the kingmaker games where you just buy the console just to play the game. But I mean, so Pierce Brosnan. So you're saying that Daniel Craig? That's interesting, man, because they did it much more Bourne, right? That was a much more Bourne type of Bond character.
Yeah, man, he's just a little bit more. Don't know, a little bit scruffier, maybe.
Yeah, no,
the older lads.
But what do you guys think about the deal in general?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know enough about it. I haven't read that much, but I think it's a bigger trend we're seeing. I guess Amazon obviously trying to get really serious in that space. They're going to get deep catalog. It sounds like they're also going to do a lot of like collaborations to reimagine a lot of old stuff as well, which is kind of smart. It gives them a lot of like credibility in it. So yeah, I mean, they can afford it, man. They can buy 10 of these.
Which streaming service do you guys use the most often? Like when you fire up the thing, what are you logging onto?
Netflix. But if I could count YouTube will probably be even more than Netflix.
I'm Prime for
really?
Me.
Are you serious? Wait, what are you watching?
You got some old. You always send me these old ones, these old random things, and I'm like, oh, these are great, but.
Yeah, they got a couple of networks. So they got BritBox. I watch British TV on Amazon. Icahn.
Now it's coming. People on Twitter that sometimes forget the butcher. He's from England.
Yeah.
He's watching BritBox. He's not watching the NBA playoffs.
No, mate. No. And Line of Duty. You boys ever seen that? Maybe the best. Nah, man. Such a good Brits like make great gritty crime drama series.
Wait, is Lock, Stock by British? Guy Ritchie's British?
Yeah, Guy Ritchie, yeah.
Okay, so is that gritty? That's not even gritty, is it? Like that's not gritty.
I don't know. I wouldn't categorize it that way. Like these long form, like 8 episode, like crime dramas that have like 6 series and the plot takes like 80 hours to resolve.
What's it called?
Badass. Line of Duty.
Have you seen The Wire from the HBO?
Oh yeah. Good show.
How does that compare to Line of Duty?
I would say like it's controversial. I would say like similar caliber. Obviously, The Wire is way more renowned, but I just love Line of Duty because it's British.
Jack keeps it niche. No, but I heard someone else mention it recently. Someone else mentioned it, and I added it to watch. But yeah, so what? Nice. Amazon Prime. I didn't expect that.
Prime's what I'm firing up, mate. Every time. Netflix, I go and I'm like, what's on Netflix now?
There's nothing. There's fucking nothing to watch. It's such a joke. People joke like, oh, I spent so much time trying to find it to watch. There's literally nothing to fucking watch. My wife just gave up on watching like shit she wanted to watch. She's like, I'm just going to watch every Korean show just because it takes away all the decision making. So she has literally in the last 6 months watched hundreds of hours of Korean Netflix, and it worked for her, right? She just turns it off, like whatever they're going to tell me, they all go. I don't even have to think about it. I don't have to care who the actor is or what the storyline is, because man, dude, everybody's been it, right? You're on Netflix. You're literally there for 30 minutes. It's fucking
every night this happens.
And the other thing, does Netflix have ratings embedded in it? Because that's the other thing I like about Prime. It shows you the IMDb rating of everything.
Yeah,
that's lower 7. I'm not even considering it.
It gives you the What's Line of Duty?
8.2 or something.
Oh yeah, man, way above. And Jack picked a 10 out of 10 on the score meter there.
Yeah.
Well, here's some other things that I want to add about the Amazon deal before we move on. So just points of reference. I just love analogies and parallels. So Disney paid $7 billion for Pixar, $4 billion for Star Wars, and between 4 to 7 for Marvel. So that just gives you kind of scale of the investments going in these things. But yeah, I don't think anybody's hitting that Marvel number, man. Nobody's getting a return on investment like they did on Marvel, dude.
Yeah, I was talking about this to someone the other day, like the crossovers and like the 1 + 1 = 3 in the Marvel franchise. Was bring in another character, and that gets you another like massive chunk of the market that loves this character versus that.
Dude, think about the fucking characters they made franchises out of. just total nobodies, right? Like, dude, what's the name of the guy that shoots the arrow? Hawkeye?
I don't know, mate.
Yeah.
I don't got any idea.
Exactly.
Robin Hood?
Yeah, he had the whole. No, I mean from Avengers. He's played by Jeremy something. And the whole point is this: we don't even know him. He's got like a multi-million-dollar franchise.
Yeah.
And
well, it's Alex's thing, mate. You can make $1 million franchise out of any character.
Well, the one joke on the last one I could put about the Amazon deal was I was just obviously on James Bond subreddit, and some guy's just going through all the spin-offs about the James Bond characters, and he's like, "You guys remember Goldfinger, the Asian dude, Odd Job, the one that throws the hat?" Yeah. And then Austin Powers, who made fun of him, called him Random Task. that was my favorite joke from Austin Powers. Odd Job, Random Task. They're like, they need to do a spin-off on this guy. So anybody from Amazon's listening, I'll fucking play that dude.
But it feels like Disney versus Amazon on a long enough timeline to me.
In the end.
Yeah, because Disney has I think Disney owns the IP that gives them some sort of anchor, and it's hard to imagine that's ever getting sold. And then Netflix, Amazon, that's like a capital game at this point, right? So who can buy the best stuff? Amazon's got deeper pockets.
Do you think Disney and Amazon beats Netflix?
No, I think he said it's a triumvirate. It's probably three.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm saying Netflix long term, is dead. Against those.
They need their. I mean, they have Stranger Things. They need more of those, right? Like they need the things that they own and start and really can drive culture. You're right, man. You're talking about these historical things, right? Amazon owns fucking Lord of the Rings. The first season of Lord of the Rings is costing $420 million to make. Just fucking think about that. It's absurd.
Yeah. I don't think it's happening anytime soon. It just feels like Netflix and Amazon are sort of playing the same game, right? They're just like cash injections to creative people, and then Disney just has a brand that you cannot come over the top of.
And they've got a deep kids catalog,
that's the thing.
Which I don't think about, but you guys probably do more than I do.
Oh, that's the greatest lock-in ever, dude. It's guaranteed. Every fucking family is gonna have Disney Plus.
Yeah,
that's smart.
It's like Bible level content virality. That thing.
But we should actually spend an episode on the Bible, because I know Jack's been thinking about this.
The Bible designs.
Well, dude, man, we can just pair Jordan Peterson, which I'm also down to do, because I've read all this shit. All right,
so let's summarize on Amazon. So overall, what do you reckon? This is a good deal for them? Sounds like a good deal, or
they're just going to be able to monetize it, right? Just like there's only so many people that are going to be able to drop $8.5 billion on MGM Studios, and Amazon just has a million ways to turn the lever for it to work for them. And this is Bezos' swan song, right? This guy, they announced his official retirement date, and the day they get MGM Studios, he gets to be like studio guy now. It's fucking perfect.
Got a lot of colorful jackets.
Yeah. If nobody saw it, I posted a tweet about the absurd jacket that Bezos wore when he first went out with his now girlfriend, or at the time previously mistress. It's just like, it looked like an Oreo McFlurry, and this dude is like, just, man. I mean, a jacked
Oreo McFlurry, though.
Yeah, a
looking like a Bond villain.
That's worth $200 billion. But yeah, good, man. Honestly, only so many people can buy it. And the ones that can monetize it, like Amazon can, they're laughing.
Fair enough. All right. So, Jack, anything else before we move on to the next thing?
I read this. I can't give credit because I can't remember who said it, but content is king, distribution is God.
Oh, dude, you know who did that? The Reliance Entertainment. Man, Bilal, you're Indian. The guy that used to be head of the Reliance Entertainment retweeted my fucking tweet.
Pakistani, bro. Pakistani.
Yeah.
Touchy subject. I'll just save that one when I call you Chinese at one point. But
you know what you should do? That'll be my mute for the episode.
It's all right.
No, we need to talk about how offended Pakistanis get when they get...
I don't. No, actually, let's talk about it. But genuinely, I'm not offended at all. We were one country at one point, so
yeah, I know.
It's understandable.
But there's a lot of people that are.
Oh yeah,
right?
I mean, there's a 60-year-old war going on in Kashmir. So
well, there's the same. I mean, dude, yes, if you call Vietnam Chinese, they're gonna lose their mind.
Let's not get demonetized before we get monetized, as Jack said last time. Before we start talking about China, though, maybe that's coming up. No, but all jokes aside, you know, like I've lived in the States now for like 8 years. People just assume I'm Indian, obviously, and I get it. But then at the same time, or Arab or something. Yeah, you did. It's all right. But no, the funny thing is, there's actually quite a cultural nuance. Whereas in the UK, there's a lot more brown Asians.
Right?
Yeah, so I mean, like the mayor of London is Pakistani British. 20% of Londoners are Pakistani, Indian, Sri Lankan, Bengali. Yeah. So like if you say the word Asian in London, you're normally referring to us. Whereas South if you say Asian, right. Where you say Asian in the US, you normally mean like Vietnamese, Chinese, Korean, etc.
That's a super interesting tidbit, man. That's so true.
Yeah, insights.
Well, I mean, every conversation, I mean, the funny thing is South Asia is what? Actually, because China is obviously 1.3, 1.4. So Pakistan and India combined are probably counterweight in population.
Yeah. Interesting. Anyway, so hey,
just accept my apology, bro. Just accept my apology.
No. I'll never forgive you. I'm going to hold that one out. Anyway, so we got media deals. The other one to briefly touch on, which isn't as interesting, but New York Times are probably going to buy The Athletic, it looks like. The subscription-only sports
we can move along with that.
Yeah, that one's a little boring, but interesting because I think I don't think they're going to be profitable anytime soon. So probably a good outcome for them if they can get away with it.
And it helps boosters. I'll add one thing is New York Times wants to get to 10 million subscribers by 2025. They have 7 million now. The Athletic has, I think, 1.2. So this helps get them towards that goal that they had, the North Star. And they also don't have great sports coverage. So
that's a good point.
If you're doing the whole yin-yang thing, it makes a lot of sense. But the one thing about The Athletic, which is crazy, is they have 600 employees. How the fuck do I know so much about this deal?
Yeah, you write the news every day, bro. That's why.
They have 400 of their 600 employees are writers. Insane.
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah, they did a crazy, like I remember when they launched in the UK anyway, they took all the best football bloggers.
Oh yeah, just hide them all, yeah.
All of them from BBC, from Guardian, etc. And yeah, maybe it'll work out for them. All right, anything else on that before we move on?
Boys, can I do a 30-second screen share on New York Times?
Yeah, I've already added, you can
Let
share,
me do it. All right, so I just saw this headline this morning. I thought this would be good to bring up on the pod. But the media interpretation of NFTs. So this headline, The Curious World of NFT, Real Estate and Design, and then the subheading is people are selling and buying art, furniture, and even houses and land that exist only virtually. So I thought this was a bit of an ironic statement to make on a digital newspaper that is selling subscriptions to people, right? So I just put a little tweet together that said people are writing and reading newspaper columns that only exist virtually.
That's brilliant. I missed this one.
So yeah, I just thought I'd drop that on the pod. And it's like the cognitive dissonance is just super interesting. It's like this doesn't exist because it's not proper as we define it, but it's the same thing. Maybe the amounts are different or the currency ecosystems are different, but it's the same transaction essentially. Anyway, we'll move on.
No, hold on.
That's a good point.
I want to keep going with this thread. I think people enjoy it when we try to become philosophers. And this is actually the running thread to all our things, right? It's just about the memification and at the end of the day, everything is just what's in your head, right? Whether or not you believe the thesis of the book *Sapiens*, which everybody read, it blew up a couple of years ago. Yuval
Harari.
Yuval Harari. Yeah.
I mean, he just literally says, right, like religion, money, society. These are all figments of our imagination, right? So, I mean, for people that say, "Hey, this is just something that's in your head," or anything, it's like, bro, everything is literally just in your head. It's
You're turning it to Descartes now, easy.
Yeah. It's like anything can be. The belief of anything is just what is collectively believed to be, right? Mm-hmm. And so, for them to, that's why I love your thing. It's just like they collectively believe that there's still a separation between, print media world and what was tangible and written versus, but I guess for them it's easier to say, oh, houses are not supposed to be digital because, if you look in the quote unquote real world, houses seem to be much more difficult to translate the digital world than maybe a newspaper would. But fuck, man, same fucking point. You should sell that as an NFT, man.
A lot of brands are trying to get into the world of NFTs via just, I guess someone high up in these organizations is just like seeing stuff happen. It's like, just get us involved in that some way, somehow, right? That's like clean margin that we could just take something, sell it as an NFT and just add it to the balance sheet. And that tactic's not working for people anymore. Like the boom of, NFT hysteria or whatever you want to call it in March is well and truly over at this point. So I've been having a few conversations with different people about, if you want to do this, like, I don't think there's any reason you shouldn't do it, but I do think you need to be more thoughtful than people were being in March. So you have to really understand the technology and like use it as a canvas or have some conceptual reason to be doing it. So for a brand like this, the is like, it reports on immutable fact, right? So the price of this at the open of the market on this day was X, and then the price of this at the close was Y. And you can really lean into that narrative and turn that into like a digital representation.
Paper of record. You're the paper of record.
Like.
So Jack, you said you think the March boom is over. So the days of Jack Butcher selling a tweet for 150K, are you saying that's done? Is that over?
I think the reason that single image NFTs that captured that moment sold for a disproportionate price is because of the convergence of the art and the moment, right? And once the moment has passed, the art doesn't resonate in the same way. And not to say that there are NFT transactions happening at that scale most days still, but they're like concentrated to the 0.01% of NFT artists that have had fan base and a career for the last 10 years. Do I think that, maybe things can slowly ramp back up, or there'll be better executions that are, worthy of like disproportionate amount of investment? Yeah.
Can we talk about how Jack said the word disproportionate?
He said disproportionately to the conversation.
Let me untangle what that word means. So something that's in proportion, something that's proportionate is in line with what society deems to be of good value at that moment. So Jack has said twice that his tweet NFT potentially was out of line with what the mainstream would consider to be in proportion with value.
I would stand by that. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's the set. Like I tweeted about this a bunch of times. It's like I'm trying to think of the exact language, but if you wait until everybody understands something, then you missed almost all of the opportunity.
Right. Oh, that's a
good point.
So people look absolutely bananas in the moment, and then like 20 years later, or even in the world we live in now, a year later, you look like a freaking genius. Like CryptoPunks is a great example. People were buying those for $500 last year. Now they're selling them for 14 million.
Yeah,
and people would have said $500 for a cartoon. You're an absolute lunatic.
Well,
they're still saying it about the 14 million. And now, and I just to give a more normal example, we're used to, like Airbnb 10 years ago, however long it's been around. If you said you could rent out your place to strangers and there wouldn't be a fire every day or a drug-fueled party that you're going to get in trouble for, and literally tens of millions of people, which definitely happens. But it happened in hotel rooms too. And if you think like tens of millions of people, I don't know the exact numbers, but tens of millions of people probably use it by now. And like how normal it is for us. But if you said that 10 years ago, you'd say that's never going to work. Like, what are you talking about? Who would do that?
I'll give you a great nugget from Amazon's or the new book, Brad Stone's new book about Jeff Bezos, Amazon Unbound. And it ties back, thankfully. It ties back to MGM Studios and media. So in 2017, Jeff Bezos wanted Amazon to have its own Game of Thrones. He's like, I want a Game of Thrones, right? Like, can you imagine like the boss comes in and says, I want Game of Thrones? And he also said, like, we want to ramp up studio business to do X, Y, Z. And the guy at the time, Brad Price, I think was his name, Roy Price, was the head of Amazon Studios. And it says in the book that Roy's recollection of the event was, so in his mind, he's like, this is absurd. I don't know why I need to do this. But he just said, I know Jeff has a reason. And I know he has it in his head. I'm just going to have to do what this guy says, right? Because I know he knows it all played out. He was going to explain it to me. But it's like what kind of Jack alluded to. Is like, there are these people obviously Balaji is one of the pod's favorite. He knows, he sees the fucking future, right? And he's telling you, he's literally telling us the future. And a lot of it sounds mad, but if you wait for it to make sense, for all the facts to meet to what his narrative is, like you said, it's the bet's over. We've already lost.
Yeah, COVID is a good example, right? It's like those guys were calling it last year in January. Like nobody understands the exponent better than people who like build and sell software. Yeah.
People understand. That's the thing that I remember. I can't remember something that Big VC was saying. When I talk to all my friends, the ones that understand it the most are in finance because they understand exponential growth compounding, and the one in media in tech because they've seen these growth charts, right?
Exponential growth.
Yeah. Whereas doctors, a lot of even like medical professionals, right? They're not used to thinking like that. Yeah, like virologists are, but they're not obviously doctors.
Yeah, most of them aren't virologists though.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, by the way, what's the RO of a meme, Trung? That could be the way you think about it.
That's true, dude. I mean, you already
R0. That's the way
in episode 1, you already did the Jack Butcher's famous calculation: engagement versus total views. People, engagement versus total views. If it's 20% or more, that thing's popping.
It's a runaway train.
Yeah. It's a runaway train. All right,
boys. We're gonna move on, but here's the connective tissue to the next section, right? So we're talking about people not seeing things right in the beginning. Some of them can be the smartest people in the world, like Stanley Druckenmiller, who Trung just interviewed. Great interview. We'll talk about the conversation you had with him in a second. He's been seen to be one of the best investors of all time for the last 30, 40 years. But even he said in your conversation with him that on Bitcoin specifically, he feels like he missed it early on because he kind of dismissed it. Yeah. And then later he kind of came around to it. I think the phrase he used was there was a solution. No, a solution looking for a problem, I think it was.
Yeah, that's exactly what he said.
So let's talk a little bit about that because I think first of all, your interview was great. It's on MFM, My First Million, the Hustlers podcast. That's normally hosted by Sam Parr and Shyam Puri. So go and check that out.
Check that out for sure.
But yeah, what did you think about it, man? Because I'll just give my opinion from the outside, and I'd love to hear yours. Was he was incredibly smart, and he was just killing it with all the macro stuff. And you can see he's seen the same patterns over time, and he was trying to take that lens and say, well, this is what I saw in 2000, and now in 2021, this is how it's slightly different. But it kind of felt like he was almost like accepting that there's some things that he's not going to fully wrap his head around. I don't know if that's the right phrase, but he kind of had the humility to say, like, there's some things I'm not going to know, you know what I mean? But I'm still I'm going to look at the way he described the 21-year-olds to 28-year-olds coming from Stanford and all these schools, where those engineers going to go invest their time, and a lot of them are going to crypto. So as someone who actually had the full conversation with him, like, what was your take on that?
Yeah, I think the way you framed it is absolutely correct. Super humble for a guy that literally is considered one of the greatest investors ever, right? 30% a year for 30 years, never had a down year, broke the Bank of England, which we're going to talk about. But his whole point about crypto is he's watching it, and in the podcast, which everybody should listen to, My First Million, that feed, is he said when it was running every day, he just was kicking himself. He just could not believe it, right? He just didn't understand it, and it's ripping from 3 to 17,000. And he was saying that even though he's a 40-year investing veteran, every day there was like that greed and kind of like the envy of watching all these like non-traditional investors make money. And I think he's fully sold on crypto. A lot of people are. A lot of these older investors. I mean, Jack sent us a funny tweet this morning. Who's the guy that sent it? Is one of these.
Crypto Cobain.
Oh, this is good. Do you want to read it out, Jack, if you've got it?
Yeah, let me pull it up.
Or you can even share the screen if you want.
So we'll just talk about Crypto Cobain. Is a really funny crypto account. It has like 300,000 followers. But he made a statement, which is probably the sentiment of a lot of people that are crypto investors. Actually, they'll look at a Stanley Druckenmiller like talking about crypto and be like, oh, why do I need to listen to this guy? This guy's a dinosaur, right? And I did get a lot of those comments. Like when I first posted a video of me and Stanley Druckenmiller speaking, the person's like, oh, wow, like Stanley Druckenmiller finally figured out that crypto is a thing, right? Like, those shitty trolly comments you usually get in the crypto community. But I mean, this tweet's hilarious, but I think it captures the sentiment of how the other side looks at these old school investors.
Yeah, it says Carl Icahn. Is that how you pronounce it? Carl Icahn says crypto is here to stay and Ethereum is money. Wow, that's amazing. Are there any other 85-year-old men that missed a decade's emergence of a new asset class that also want to comment? I will ask my granddad and report back.
Yeah, I have to comment that Jack's tone and his straight face there was perfectly delivered.
I was saying that's so British of Jack, man, because the deadpan is like, that's what the British crush deadpan.
This dude is British as well.
The side eye. So the side eye.
Is crypto cocaine British?
Yeah. Cobain.
see where Trunk's mind's at.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, so yeah, I think his explanation makes sense, and he explains it. Stanley Druckenmiller 68, and yeah, he touched on it. Bilal, you touched on it. Is he said that he was trying to rationalize in his head what is this thing, right? And he only started buying last March, but he bought it around 6,000. He said he got 20 mil in. And he was joking. He's like, I've never been into it. I got in I wanted to buy 100 mil, but it took so long that I stopped. Like that's basically
He said it was taking him like a couple of weeks or something.
Still. Like I spent like 10 minutes trying to buy crypto. I got throttled by Coinbase for like $750 a week was my limit. I'm like, you know what? I'm out. So multiply that by like 1,000, and that was basically Stanley Druckenmiller. He's like, I tried to buy 100 mil. It took me way too long, so I just stopped buying it. And he got in at 6K. 20 mil about. But yeah, so his rationale was just like, obviously the Fed and central banks did this 10 years ago, but they've just taken it to like the nth degree in 2020, right? And his main thing was he was on the circuit. He's wrote an op-ed for Wall Street Journal, and he's on CNBC about 10 days ago. CNBC, the thing that I go on every now and then.
The regular.
Yeah. And he was saying that his concern with the Fed was they still have these emergency measures in place, low interest rates, emergency bond buying, after the vaccination's been proven, after retail sales have recovered to, I think, even past trends from 2019. Like we're already where we would have been without COVID in terms of retail buying. And then add to that the summer that's about to come up, son, and the amount of fuckery that's going to happen, and the inflation's going to explode, right? So that was what his whole thing was. And he said, I'll just finalize by saying crypto was a solution in search for a problem, and the problem to him. A lot of people for a long time have said the problem, they've already identified it. To him, the problem was what happened in 2020.
As you were explaining that, Trung, as well, I think maybe I'm overthinking this, but like COVID as a phenomenon maybe help people get a better model for crypto too. Like the explosive growth of a viral thing. Yeah. Like this is a 24/7 global asset that is like low. Well, it depends on whether you have to buy through Coinbase or not. With low friction, but maybe it helped people like grasp these like global viral phenomenons a little better. And people like Stanley Druckenmiller. Not that I'm, claiming to know how he thinks, but that is an interesting like coincidence in timing with these things happening and meme stocks and all of that kind of madness.
No, 100%. And what I will add was again, just listen to the full thing. Anybody here that hasn't heard it, just go to My First Million. He talks about meme stocks. I asked him actually about GameStop, and he actually brought up a great point. He's like, when I started, so for him that was in the late 70s. He says all of investing was retail. He's like, you just went to your broker, and he would give you tips, right? Like these institutions didn't take over until the 80s, 90s. He's like, this stuff's been around, and he's just like, everybody now just has all the tools, and he had to jab it. He just said, I think it'll be directed towards more positive things than GameStop, which he called radioactive. So then we can go with that. Yeah,
the last thing I'll say was, I think what Jack read out with his straight face earlier was like perfectly said for what a lot of people think. But the reason it matters is because Stanley Druckenmiller represents billions and billions and hundreds of billions, maybe more. I don't know the numbers of capital from people at his age, his experience. And it's going to open up a whole new world of people who take it, see that asset class as legitimate. So I think that's why, obviously, it's really important. Go on, Jack.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, like, it's a meme of a different kind, right? Like retail money meme on Reddit is like an image with two freaking lines of impact text with shadows behind it, in the same way that Stanley Druckenmiller going on CNBC for 90 seconds is a meme that's going to resonate with
over 60
and 70-year-old people. Yeah. And that's like, oh, did you see Stanley Druckenmiller on CNBC?
That's such a brilliant point. Yeah, I love that.
So instead of sending tweets from cocaine cowboy crypto guy.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't I don't know if it was Druckenmiller or Icahn but my mother-in-law's friends texted Celia yesterday. I was like, can I speak to Jack about like how to buy Bitcoin and Ethereum?
So good. And tell this story, Jack. What
that was yesterday. That was yesterday. So I'm assuming like all these big institutional moves that are being covered in the press are just pushing people to maybe call their financial advisor and be like, hey, can I get some exposure to this? And a lot of financial advisors either don't, I don't know why, but don't have the instrument to get their clients exposure. So they go and direct. And I've been talking about this stuff. Like I've been going out for dinner with this couple when we lived in New York every month for like 5 years. And they were like, oh, what are you up to? I was like, oh, I'm buying, Bitcoin and messing around with this and that. And they're like, what the hell? Like they look at me like I'm insane, right? It's like, you're gonna, they care about Celia. So like, all right, just be careful. And then, 2 years later, funny. It's like, can you tell me how to buy it and how to allocate? It's like, listen, I can send you like a bunch of podcasts with people that are way smarter than me, and you should listen to those and then make your own mind up. I'm not going to give you any not investment advice, right?
Yeah, send them this podcast. Send them this segment.
I have huge amount of respect for it because they also say like, look, it's going to be play money. It's like, I'm not betting the farm on this stuff. These guys are incredibly successful and they're going to be fine, but they just want, they want to participate in this thing because they're seeing the meme has finally reached the...
It's like Stan said, right? He's, I love how I call him Stan like we're buddies. Yeah,
me and Stan down the pub.
Drucky, yeah.
Hey, what are you doing, man? Yeah, we're just having a drink with Stan. We're having a drink with Stan and we're talking crypto. But it's the same, right? He's watching the whole thing rip and he's just like, I got to get in on this. And he didn't.
Just the last thing I'll say that he mentioned was something about he saw... in 2017 when there was that, or 2018 when there was an 85% drop, or there was that huge drop, right?
Yeah.
And he said that 85% of people still held onto it. And that was like...
Paul Tudor Jones, another legendary hedge fund manager. And it's so funny if you listen to the podcast.
He texted him.
He calls him. And but Stanley did the voice. He did Paul Tudor Jones' voice. He's from the South. And I'm like, oh.
So good.
Stan, you came strapped for this podcast, man. But dude, so I'm just telling you, I'll give you a little bit of my mindset as I'm interviewing Stanley Druckenmiller. Like this is like, it'd be the equivalent of interviewing LeBron James. Like, this is the caliber of talent he is for his chosen field, right? He is a top 3 to 5 or maybe top 10 ever investor. And I'm just the entire time. But the thing is, I'm just so into it. And I had my list of questions that I didn't even have time to really think about. Like, holy shit, I'm interviewing Stanley Druckenmiller. But no, man, dude, it's hilarious. And he just came prepared as a performer too. Like he was making jokes and he was doing the fake Paul Tudor Jones voice. Just listen to the fucking podcast.
Yeah, well, the great thing was, like, you're young. Yeah. You're going to ask me about crypto, aren't you? Yeah. That was great.
He nailed it. So we got that. And yeah, and you know what? So just to Bilal's point is, what convinced Stanley to buy the crypto or Bitcoin was, number one, solution in search of a problem. Solution was sound money when the Fed's going crazy. And the second part was Paul Tudor Jones called him and said, hey, I looked at the numbers. When it went from 17,000 to 3,000, 85% of people or the wallets never sold. And Stanley said, those are zealots, right?
That's the word. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
These are religious zealots that they're going to...
I think we called them strong hands.
Yeah.
Or diamond hands in our world.
If he had said diamond hands, that's game over, right?
Oh, yeah.
Extremists.
Take over the internet.
Okay, so now...
So, Trung, tell us about the breaking the Bank of England and maybe paint a picture of who he was working for, because there were other legendary people kind of involved as well.
We might have to start doing trade of the week because this is such a legendary trade. Okay, so the year is 1992. Stanley Druckenmiller started his career in 1977, so it was about a decade and a half into his career. He launched his own personal fund in 1981, and it was so successful that George Soros, the Hungarian hedge fund manager, and I know today he's he's kind of perceived as this mastermind of the liberal media and liberal causes, but crazy successful investor. His fund was called Quantum Fund. And in 1988, he asked Stan Druckenmiller to take over as a portfolio manager for Quantum Fund. So he could start doing more of his philanthropy and his side stuff, which has, I'm sure, got him into the news in recent decades. So in 1992, he's 39 years old. I love finding out the age when people do something crazy, because I'm like, oh man, in 3 years I could do something like that, right? At 36, I'm like, hey, in 3 years I could break the Bank of England. So 39 years old. And then I'm going to go through the minutiae of this, but I think some people will appreciate it. I think you guys appreciate it as two British cats. So in 1992, the Prime Minister is John Major. So he took over for Margaret Thatcher. And one of the things that Thatcher did Margaret Thatcher's super independent, right? Very hawkish, super independent Prime Minister. Crazy story. We should spend an episode on Margaret Thatcher. She's an incredible, I know that she's very
controversial figure either way.
So she had always been about UK independence. Whereas, across the water, there's the whole continent of Europe, and they had this 100 centuries old relationship with the UK about how much integration there should be, right? So after World War II, Europe started integrating all their economies to try to never have a war again. So they first started with something called the European Steel and Coal Community. And so this is Germany, France, Italy, Netherlands, a bunch of other countries that are like, hey, let's combine our steel planning so that we can have a combined economy and try not to kill each other all the time. So fast forward to the 90s, and this is in the lead up to the euro, they had something called the European Exchange Rate Mechanism. And what that was is the ERM was these countries involved in the exchange rate mechanism against the big ones, Germany, France, I'm pretty sure Italy was in it. And a number of other countries are like, we're going to agree to keep our currencies within a certain band, right? Because one way you can really fuck another economy is by lowering your exchange rate, and then your exports can get sold more because it's cheaper.
You're devaluing the currency.
Exactly. Yeah. So by keeping everybody's currency within a band, it makes the economy more predictable. It keeps everybody more attached. So Margaret Thatcher had no interest in it. She just wanted to be independent. John Major, one of his things was I want to join the European exchange rate mechanism to show solidarity and also just to boost the UK economy, because now we can be tighter with these European countries. But what happened, and this is parallels with Brexit and what happened with Brexit, right? It's that tension is how much do you want to be involved with the Europeans? So Germany, when you short a currency, you don't just short, the way you do is you have to pick a currency pair. So the currency pair that George Soros and Stanley Druckenmiller chose was the Deutschmark and the UK pound.
And sorry, Drunk, just real quick for people, because there's some people who might not even know what shorting just means you're betting against the country, basically, right?
You're betting against, you want something to fall in value.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're shorting Apple, and let's say Apple's $100 today, you want it to fall to
you think it's going to be worth less in the future than it is today. Yeah.
We don't have to talk through the minutiae of what that means, but so I'm going to give you the scenario of why they wanted to short the British pound. So they realized that John Major had put the British pound into this exchange rate mechanism and to align with the Europeans. But the problem is this: the economies weren't matched. The UK economy was going through recession, and what's one way that you deal with recession is you cut interest rates, right? You cut interest rates so that your exports become more competitive, and that way your economy can restart. And so the UK's economy was weak, whereas the German economy, this was after the fall of the Berlin Wall, it was kind of firing on all cylinders, right? And the other thing about the German economy is this: in the 1920s, Germany had hyperinflation, which led to the rise of Nazism. So Germans fucking hate inflation. They will do anything to crush inflation or fight it, and so they will never cut interest rates, right? Or not that they never will. They're very hesitant versus other countries and economies to cut interest rates. They're very cognizant of inflation because there's such a scar of 100 years ago of when that happened.
I don't know how long it would take to explain why hyperinflation led to a situation like that. Can you?
I'm going to do it.
All right. So no, I mean in the pre-war in Germany.
Oh, so the hyperinflation from the 20s happened after World War I. They lost the war. They were forced to pay reparations. and they're under a new leadership called the Weimar Republic, and they just couldn't handle with all the fuckery that was going on, right? And they basically just printed themselves into insanity. So the scar, and then one of the reasons that Nazism was able to rise was because, the country was so beaten down, the economy was so broken that they're just like, we just want fucking anyone to fix this. Right?
You come and like stand on stage and just say
Hitler
mental shit.
I'm gonna fix all this. I'm gonna make this country strong again.
Yeah.
But so Germany is very against the inflation. So you have so now we mapped it out, right? You have a weak UK economy, and you have a strong German economy, and they're attached by this exchange rate mechanism. And Stanley Druckenmiller was just looking at it. He's like, this is not good. The UK is going to have to leave this arrangement because the arrangement keeps you within a band of like 10-20% of currencies. And I'm not going to talk about how you stay within the band, but it involves central banks buying and selling currencies. And he's like, there's just no way they're going to be able to do it. And so this is the amazing thing. A big lesson from him in this entire story was he found a once-in-a-generation bet and went all in on it. This quantum fund was a $15 billion fund. They put $15 billion into this trade. Only think about that.
All in.
They went all in. And here's the crazy thing. Druckenmiller said that he wasn't even the one that wanted to go all in. He goes to Soros and says, hey, I just put 100% of this fund into this trade. And Soros goes, the way Druckenmiller said it, he's like, Soros looked at him with great disdain. He's like, you have a once-in-a-generation trade and you're only going to do 100%? You need to pour in. He goes, you need to lever this trade, right? You need to lever this trade to the moon. So long story short is his thesis came out exactly. It came out. And the catalyst was this. The German central banker, I forgot his name, basically had a press conference, pretty unprecedented, and basically called up the UK. He's like, we're looking at the exchange rate mechanism, and we don't have confidence that, how like central bankers will use these words. We've lost confidence that all the members will be able to stay within the parameters of the rules. Everybody knew that meant England. Oh man, if you got to read the data. I guess we got to post the article. If you read the day-to-day blow-by-blow, England, the central banker of England woke up at 2 a.m. because they're ahead of time, right? They're seeing what's happening around the currency market, and the panels just get demolished. And Soros and Druckenmiller couldn't even find enough people to sell the pound to, right?
Yeah, because back then it wasn't just like pressing a button; it was like calling up.
But here's the crazy thing: the UK central bank has to buy it. They have to buy it if you're selling to them. So as soon as they were up and running, they're just being sold all this shit that's imploded. So by the end of it, they made $1 billion personally on the trade, but the fund went from 15 billion to 22 billion. So the actual amount of the trade was $7 billion, a single trade. And then they get the 20% carry or whatever. So insane. They broke the Bank of England. It's considered the greatest trade ever. Incredible
That's
stuff.
Insane, man. Yeah, especially if you just picture it like being back in the day as well. Like it wasn't like you can just Google something and see it all live the way we do now. They didn't have as much information available to a certain extent as well. So pretty incredible.
Amazing story. Sorry that he, if your parents had paid more taxes in the 90s, it's probably because of Druckenmiller and Soros.
And just for people that don't know, you were a history major, right?
Yeah, I was a history major.
That was coming out. I could feel it. I could feel like Trung's read 17 books about this.
I don't know how many people we lost in that bit there, but man, I can drone on, bros. I can drone on about history.
Bonus
I love
episode.
it.
I know that we talked about doing. I know. So the listeners will laugh because last week we did obviously an episode about how Jack and Bilal got into crypto, Bitcoin and Ethereum. So we're actually very intentional to start this episode. We're like, hey, let's not talk too much about crypto.
Switch it up, and then next week we're gonna have another one. So
we're an hour in, boys. I think we're allowed to talk about crypto again. So let's do project of the week, and you guys can tell me because I think I want to start doing this Ethereum project of the week because I'm about to wet my beak, boys. Trump's coming
watch out.
I actually think I might go all Ethereum. There's just too many environmental concerns with Bitcoin.
Well, actually, Trung, go on. Since you're talking about that, tell us why. Because I know you've been reading James Wang, and you've been following this as much as anyone. Like
it's now or never. I got to do it, man. I've had enough. And I'm like Stanley Druckenmiller. I've had enough. I got to get
concentrated bets, man. Concentrated bets, as you said. So
we'll do that. And so you guys should talk about this because I'm a total outsider. So you guys have swapped the story about Cuban. You primed the readers about what.
Yeah. So let's set the stage because there's a lot been going on this week. Really quickly, we talked about Carl Icahn. He talked about getting involved with crypto now. Finally, he said it will be in a big way if he does it. And the interviewer asked what that means, and he said normally big way for them means like $1 billion to $1.5 billion. So that's a lot of institutional money or like classic old school money coming in. Then there's also GameStop doing NFTs, which is quite interesting. You had a great tweet with this trunk where you had like the Mentos or whatever, Mentos and Coke, with two things coming together.
Well, here I'll tell you. This is the only thing I can really opine on regarding this because you guys will be the pros here. We talked about this a couple episodes ago, but I told people just download MATIC, right? Because it's gonna give you ideas. So that's part of it. Is like, and Jack's talked about it, it's like these memes are just imprinted in people's brains, right? So everybody knows when you put a thing of Mentos in a Coke bottle, it's going to explode, right? And there's going to be some fuckery involved. And I just remember seeing, it was imprinted in my brain, somebody had made that thing where it's like a box. On one side is like all this Coca-Cola, on the other side is like hundreds of Mentos, and then if you pull it, it's going to explode. And literally, the first thing that popped in my brain when you guys showed me the NFT, that's what we're talking about. MATIC, people. One piece of advice the only piece of advice I'll ever give on this podcast is download MATIC. Because they'll give you ideas. They'll give you ideas. Hilarious.
Yeah. But anyway, so does anyone actually know much about this? I just read the headline, so I don't know much. But
I don't think
GameStop obviously,
much.
Yeah, they just mentioned that they're doing something in this space. But that's quite interesting. We also saw Gary V, the really famous kind of influencer, if you want to call him that, but also a business dude. He just bought the CryptoPunk. I think it was for 325 Ethereum or ETH, sorry. Which is like almost $1 million, depending on what.
That's not the record, is it?
I don't think it's the record. No, it's.
He picked it up.
Go on.
No, I say he picked it up like cheap relative to what
during the dip.
Yeah.
During the times when things were what's the word that we've been using? Disproportionate.
Disproportionate. Yeah.
What Jack's trying to say is these are more proportionate times.
Yeah. It's only $800,000 for the zombie CryptoPunk.
Exactly. He bought it on the cheap. But yeah, so that was cool. There's lots going on, so we can't really go into all of them.
What was the Cuban thing? You guys mentioned Cuban invested in something.
Yeah, so Mark Cuban, famous from Shark Tank, owns the Dallas Mavericks, right? He's been getting quite involved with NFTs. I think he's got his own platform. Is it lazy.com or something like that? So he's been involved with this a lot. And then he just put out that he's invested or partnering with Polygon / MATIC it's called Polygon now. It used to be called MATIC, but the ticker or whatever is still called MATIC. So again, maybe we talk more about that next week with someone who knows more about this. But I don't know, Jack, do you know much about this? And in full transparency, both me and Jack, I think Jack still has some. We both own some of this. So disclosure, not investment advice. But it's something that I've been seeing pop up quite a lot. So it's essentially what's called like a layer 2. I don't know what it's called actually. It's something on layer 2 where it helps with scaling. So a big problem with Ethereum right now is that there's problems with scaling. So it's just got bigger and bigger. It becomes more costly. And there's people building these things called layer 2. And it makes things more efficient essentially. There's some technical difference between like what's called a side chain and layer 2 on its own, which we don't need to go into.
I can walk through one thing which I think will make listeners understand. Is so if you pile everything onto the existing Ethereum network, that's going to cause, if you just want to think about a lot of traffic, right? So they're trying to build off-ramps where you can, let's say Bilal and myself want to make a transaction. Let's say over the course of 6 months, we want to do deals together. Back and forth deals related to Pakistani food, for example. And I know how I said Pakistani.
Pakistan to Vietnam. All right.
Yeah, Pakistani and Vietnamese food. Let's say we're transacting in commerce, Pakistani and Vietnamese food over 6 months. So we get to do all that stuff off the main chain. We're not clogging up the main chain. And once we complete that 6 month period, there's a way for us to to ensure that that record is agreed to by both of us. So we probably both have to sign it, say yes. The 6-month period when we're exchanging basmati rice and fish sauce, this 6-month period has been signed by both of us. Now, can we put this one record back onto the main Ethereum chain? So that's kind of the idea of one of these like layer 2 ideas, right? So what's Cuban's involvement in this?
I don't know, Jack, do you know much about this? Or all I saw is that he's publicly kind of come out, said he's been investing in it. His companies are probably going to use it as well, I think. But it's an interesting area because what I liked about this is Polygon, they've been building this, looking at the long term, saying we want to work with the main Ethereum project, not just go against it or create a completely different alternative. They're trying to like build on top of it, which I think is quite smart. But yeah, I don't know much more about that, what Cuban's actually doing with it.
Yeah, I don't know if he's like backing the team or he's just like loaded up on the asset itself. The way I read the headline read as though he was like backing the development of the asset.
Yeah, and I saw a statement from the founders too, so there was definitely something coming out there. So anyway, maybe this is something we're going to have Packy McCormack on the show.
Yeah.
I think next week. Yeah, so if he can still make that. He just did an amazing breakdown of Ethereum. It's like 40 minutes long if you listen to it. So we'll be breaking that down in more detail, and it's probably more fresh in his mind. But there's a lot of interesting stuff going on in his space. Definitely, like this is all in the kind of Ethereum ecosystem. There's stuff related to DeFi as well. So yeah, there's not much more to add there. All right, boys. Was there anything else? I mean, the other thing to mention is, Jack, you bought that Bored Ape Yacht Club stuff a few months ago or a month ago, and you shared it on the pod.
Yeah, and we talked about it.
Yeah, and I saw the Dapper Labs guy bought one of those too, which is kind of cool. He's the guy who started basically NBA Top Shot, which has been one of the most successful NFT projects. Any feelings from your camp?
Well, let's bring what Dak said. He said that he's waiting for the culture to come to him basically a couple weeks ago. I asked him, like, what fundamental analysis are you applying to the purchase of this Bored Ape Yacht Club, which is an NFT of an ape that just looks ridiculous, but it's kind of cool looking.
They look kind of cool though, yeah.
And then Jack said, I'm waiting for culture to converge with me. So Jack, is it converging?
Well, I think it's a good signal. Like this is, I think, ties nicely with the Gary V purchase of the CryptoPunk thing, which I think is basically an inverse thing. It's like he's buying access to like OG NFT crypto space with that, and then the Bored Ape Yacht Club is like entry level. It's a couple $100 to get involved rather than a couple $100,000 to get involved. So you can see a new wave of people interested in, digital collectibles and stuff getting into Bored Ape. I think where it differs from like a Top Shot, for example, is those things they have a relationship to your identity. So you can change your Twitter profile picture to the ape that you own. If you buy an NBA Top Shot, like you're not going to use that as a profile picture, right? It's like, it's truly a digital collectible that you like keep in a slide somewhere. So what I observed happening with CryptoPunks is like people attach their identities to these things. And if you get enough high profile people attaching their identity to it, then the asset class grows. Bored Ape is a well-executed identity-based NFT project. So I think it grows in proportion to like the status of people that adopt it and the community that's building it up from the ground.
So Gary Vee is about to get access to the OG network of the Bored Ape Yacht Club soon and drop $800K.
Well, he's gotten into the CryptoPunk stuff, which is a couple years older.
I love how you said that though. Is like he's literally like because he didn't have the legitimacy of pumping this 4 or 5 years ago, right? He's literally just buying his way into it.
But I will say
he's been calling Ethereum a long time though.
He has been, and to be fair, beyond NFTs, he's like building his next big thing on this big NFT platform. He's doing bundling up with events every year for the next 3-4 years. And to be fair to him, he's been into collectibles since forever, and he's been really. He's been calling that
most
on the
important
trading cards and all that stuff as well. So I think this is like right in his sweet spot. You can tell he's genuinely into it, I think.
It's like, this is like betting, technology, collectibles. It's like the convergence of all.
Completely.
I agree.
So quite interesting. But anyway, I think, Jack, the lesson I heard here is listen to the podcast, because Jack's going to be sharing stuff a little bit early on the edges of the internet. If you get in, not investment advice, but if you had bought then, which I didn't, and I don't think Trung did,
I definitely did
maybe
not.
we'd have an asset worth more.
Let's give away a Bored Ape. We could give one away and do subscribe on YouTube and be entered in to win one.
Let's do it. Well, why don't we brainstorm a little bit about what we should do, and then actually put it out properly so people know what to do. But if you listen to this, you want one of those, Jack will be doing a giveaway, which is sick. So listen out for that. And
I plan. Remember when the last thing I'll add is, you remember when David Dobrik, the famous YouTuber, was giving away Ferraris and then or Teslas, and then his friend won. So I'm hoping to win this Bored Ape Yacht Club.
Miraculously, Trung gets off zero by winning the competition.
By winning the competition.
Yeah. No, we'll definitely give one away. You will be excluded from the pool.
All right, boys. The last thing I'll say is, so let's just bang this out, because Biden, it's been announced, it's going to be confirmed over the next few days. So by the time you listen to this, maybe some of the facts might have changed. The kind of summary here is that Biden's budget has been announced. It's about $6 trillion, which is the highest levels pretty much since World War II. Again, historian Trung Phan might be able to share more context on that. But this is it actually relates to crypto, and it relates to the kind of narrative we've spoken about over the last few weeks.
Well, it's like Stanley, right? This is all part of what Stanley Druckenmiller is saying. You're still doing emergency type measures. You don't need to pump the economy, right?
So can we explain what this means, though? Go on, Jack.
I was just going to ask: is it $6 trillion adjusted for inflation, or is that like real dollars?
I think that's now. Well, I don't know about that.
Printing $6 trillion in 1940 is different.
No, I think I think when they say sustained levels of spending since World War II, that must be inflation adjusted, I'm sure.
So he's saying, I see what he's saying. He's saying $5 trillion over the next decade, it looks like. He's saying that hilarious. He says inflation is only going to hit 2.3%. I don't think we need to get the weeds too much. These are projections. They don't really, they're fucking projections, right? And a lot of it is just politics, literally in the sense of like, hey, we're going to give electric vehicle chargers $100 million. And a lot of that money is going to end up going to waste or not making it. So a lot of this is just optics. But if it does look like it's aggressive, it's just more of the and why Pomp was we have to mention Pomp at least once an episode. He was tweeting like somebody needs to like pull these guys in the line. It's the same thing. It's like you don't need to have emergency level spending when there's no longer an emergency, because the government crowds out the private sector. So that there's a saying in economics about crowding out. And that's what happens is if the government spends too much, they're the ones borrowing the money. You're not letting the private sector, which is in many ways much better at allocating resources, not perfect, obviously. But that would be the big concern here, if they're crowding out the private market, and then they might be stoking inflation.
And just to bring another COVID comparison in, it's like deploying capital through the like political infrastructure of America is an absolute shit fest.
Totally.
Shit fest.
It's a shit fest, right?
So wait, just let's dumb this down for me. Yeah. So let's say what is wrong with, I'm just going to start from scratch. What is wrong with printing so much money and spending so much money?
Do you understand? I think most listeners.
I think I know, but I want to hear from you.
Most listeners can understand the idea of if there's more of something, if there's a greater supply and if there's greater demand for something and supply stays the same, the price of the item that's being supplied will go up, right? So in this case, if you're printing money, you're supplying more and more. I mean, you're putting more money into the system, right? So the prices of things are going to rise just because everything's going to get bid up. And the problem is you don't need to do that when there isn't an emergency. Like these government levers should be used in emergency times for two reasons. Number one is they can actually save an economy during emergency times. But the second thing is you lose credibility. And if a government loses credibility, that it makes it very difficult for them to enact in whether that's financial markets or with their constituents, right? Because if you are printing money and putting money to waste, that's going to seem very badly. If people are looking at this $5 trillion bill, they're like, we don't need X, Y, Z. It's like what Jack said is like, why are we giving more resources to people that clearly have no idea where this money should be going? So I think for me, that is the negative side of if the real perception is, hey, why do we have a $5 trillion budget if we don't need it? That to me is a negative side.
Yeah. Can I just add one other thing from my understanding as well, is that if this, let's say basically inflation is higher than what is being reported, is what a lot of people think, because the way, and not to get in the weeds of it, but the way we measure inflation is called like CPI inflation, and essentially it's like a basket of goods or whatever, and you're saying are the average prices going up a certain percent? I think it's basket of goods.
Why is that bad? So the reason why that's well, for investors it's bad because the one way you deal with inflation is to raise interest rates, and that can
cause problems with others.
But interest rates really is the cost of money, right? The best way to think about interest rates is like it's like a price tag for money. So if you go to the store and you see a banana and it says 99 cents, that's how much a banana costs, right? But interest rates are the price for money. So if it's 1% over a year now, but tomorrow because interest rates rise is 5%, money has just gotten more expensive, right?
And that means to borrow money, it costs more. And it also means you're incentivized to basically save, because there's, on flip side, you are earning interest as well. But the reason the one thing I want to add, and this is something I've heard Pomp talk about, so I don't know, I haven't verified this, but this is his point of view, is that this really disproportionately, to use our word of the day, it impacts the middle classes and people who are poorer, because what happens is assets increase in price. So if you're someone who owns assets, whether that's real estate, stocks or whatever, or apes, the price will continue rising is the theory. Whereas for the bottom 50%, you don't have that, you're just getting hit by inflation. You're going to have to go pay more for that banana or the cinema ticket or whatever. So that's why it's potentially a bad thing. I think the flip side, people in the government would say, well, we actually need a little bit of inflation to stay healthy. And I think that
inflation is not, you should have inflation because it's an indication the economy is growing.
But hyperinflation or inflation that's too high can be a problem for that reason.
It's also an issue for the United States because if the tool you have to battle inflation is to raise interest rates, you have to remember the United States debt is blowing out of proportion, right? So Stanley Druckenmiller wrote in his op-ed basically that you're headed to a world now in 5-10 years where the United States will be paying 30% of its GDP just to cover interest. And if they can't do that, then the people around the world, savers, will stop lending them money, like Japanese savers, German savers. And if you can't get people to lend you money, the bonds, the interest rates will go up on those too. So like there's just cascading effects.
The best counter argument I heard for it too is like if you could deploy that capital efficiently and build better infrastructure, you're reducing friction in the long run, which is good, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're able to build better infrastructure, but then you have to, like, that narrative relies on actually building better infrastructure. If you go to any city in the States and compare it to almost like any European city of size or Asian city of size.
New Asian city, right? It's just night and day.
It's just next level difference.
Can you imagine JFK being the gateway for foreigners to come to America? Imagine you never visited America before and you landed.
That's
JFK,
exactly what happened to me.
Right? No, wait, did you guys both land at JFK? You're like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you go to Hong Kong, you go to the airport. It's the greatest thing in the world. Yeah. So, dude, that's to Jack's point. It's like, okay, great. That sounds great in theory, but man, have you seen JFK?
Yeah, which, counter to all of the shit we talk about in this podcast is like an argument for like centralization and like, control from top to bottom is how you get like, if you're like the way the American system works, like you print money at the government level, then you have to distribute it to the federal level. Then even if you're doing like private contracts, the subway system that I used to live next to in Brooklyn, they have to post all the details of every renovation they do. And it's like, this thing cost $21 million. This thing, we're going to do a 6-week renovation of this station. It looked exactly the same afterwards. They didn't even power wash the stone. Like, what the hell is going on here? Train wasn't any like faster or less noisy, or maybe they were doing something on the tracks, but mate, just burning money. I can't remember the exact stat, but it's the cost to build a mile of tunnel in New York over the past 100 years has gone up 100x in real dollar terms.
Well, dude, so the last thing I'll leave, I know they're running long here, is about Patrick Collison. So if you go to patrickcollison.com, he has a blog. I think it's patrickcollison.com/fast. He literally just has a blog about the fastest infrastructure human projects ever made. And, he'll talk about how long it took to make like the spacecraft, how long it took to make the mRNA vaccine. And he's just saying, if you look through time, like 50 years ago, we used to be able to do shit pretty fast. But like you talk about, Jack, is like there's like this subway line or this bus line in San Francisco, which compares it against. It's been going on for 20 years. And they spent $5 billion on it. And it's not done yet. And this is what happens when it gets stuck in the muck of the gears of government, right? So I think that, listen, we're turning into like an Ayn Rand book.
I was going to say, this is getting
I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. It's just like, I kind of agree with both sides of the argument to some extent. You need to improve stuff. Like if nobody spends money, like this country will be an absolute wasteland in no time, right? And you could sit in your house and say like, yeah, I'll take responsibility for myself, but it would get pretty messy. And then on the other end,
last March when COVID hit, Jack was wearing a mask around the house with a shotgun.
Yeah, exactly.
Went all cash.
Yeah,
just in case.
I got like a little device to distill puddle water into, I could drink it. But yeah, man, there's a healthy medium somewhere, but it does make you think about like how effectively can capital be deployed, because that is really what you're talking about. Or that's like something that should be put into the, the equation 100%. That you're measuring. And I just don't see that being done very well.
I didn't see this right turn coming. I didn't see this.
I know. We got real deep and it got real serious, but I think it was productive. You explained it pretty well. All right, guys, if you made it this far, thanks for being here. Do us a favor, make sure you're subscribed on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, on YouTube. There's timestamps if you want to switch between. Write us a review if you can, tell a friend, and we'll see you next week. Anything else, boys, before we kick out?
No, that's perfect.
That was beautiful, man. That was
it's like I've done it before.
Yeah.
All right, boys, see you next week.